as the big question, my friend.
Yeah.
The question of the episode, I think that's going around on Twitter and everything. Is Nynaeve the dragon?
Wow. And it's a great question, right? It's a great question because she sure looks like it. I mean, we just had Logain, who proclaimed himself to be the dragon. We have now, full spoilers here, he has been gentled, my friend. Moraine was in awe of his power. She questioned, is he the one? Are we wrong? Are we confused? Does the shadow know who the dragon is? She and Lane are trying to figure it out. So here we go. In terms of them, just this is so important. You can't get this wrong, right? You have to find the dragon, and you don't want the dragon to turn to the shadow. The dragon needs to be allied with the tower. The beautiful job that they did, where in which Logain was believed to be we know that it was the corruption speaking to him, right? But had individuals, former supposed dragons, speaking to him and talking to him. So it's just such a great episode. And is she the dragon? Here's the answer to that question. We don't know. We don't know. Some people want to say no, she's not. Some people want to say yes, she is. I'm saying the wheel weaves as the wheel wills, my friend. All right. And
Yes.
she may be the Dragon Reborn.
Yeah. Certainly I think that the show is doing an excellent job of teasing this and getting everybody excited for it. And I do think they're doing a great job of building excitement and hype for the show. Obviously, book readers are going to come in here and say, hold on a second. Nynaeve the dragon. But I watched it with a handful of people who are watching this for the first time, and they're convinced right now that she is.
Yeah.
Because they've been talking about this. Who is it? And remember, we kept seeing all this promotional material talking about it could be a male or a female. And so I think it's a cool way of building hype and suspense for the show. I do not believe that the show will go down that drastic of a change
Yep.
from the books to make Nynaeve the dragon, but to not potentially go super spoiler here, let's just say that just because you may or may not, just even if any of the characters you're following right now do or do not end up becoming the dragon, let's just say that all of them get some pretty cool powers, and all of them are
Yeah.
very important, and the entire 5 of them are extremely important for the entire plot, and all need to essentially be there for the final battle.
It was about all of them. That's what this story is about. It's about this whole group. And it's hinted at when Moraine says, I think it's in the Dragon Reborn, that she hasn't given enough attention and time to certain Taviran. So again, she's confused. They're showing this in the show. The shadow is also trying to figure it out. Which of these three? In the book, it's often these three Taviran matter. Which one? Podon Fane is the hound, hunting, trying to figure it out. And so we zero in on them, but even there's confusion, and then they split up and go separate ways. So Nynaeve was one of those who wasn't counted in, right? Who was someone who was not going to be, was taken away by a Trolloc, believed to be dead. And Moraine is now seeing like she just saved everyone's life. She saved all their lives. She is a total badass, 100%. And the power, we're going to talk here in a second just about Nynaeve's power level. Spoilers ahead, friends. It's massive. And they just showed that. They just went ahead and flexed on us in this episode, and it was something to behold, right?
Yeah, so before we get into this, let's just say these include crazy spoilers. Again, I think the majority of our listeners are book readers, so I don't think this should be too sort of spoilery territory here. But we're going to dive into a little bit of power levels just to understand. And because there is a scale that exists that Robert Jordan, made, and you can find it on the wiki. I'm not going to screen share because I don't want to totally spoil everything if you're just sort of a show watcher here. But it's interesting. One of the things that Moraine says is that when they're talking about Logain, they're talking. Lan asks a question: is he more powerful than Egwene? Right?
Mhm.
Which is definitely interesting, and to even sort of consider that. So again, this is potential complete and 100% total spoilers here
Mhm.
for sort of this power scale. Now, the way it kind of works is it's kind of like golf. The lower you are, right, the better. So if you want to be like number one on the scale. So
Right.
the scale goes all the way to number one, and then it begins to count again from 6 down to like plus one. And that is the male side, because there's only a handful of male people who ever see channel. And then also the males we see are much more powerful than the women.
Mhm.
So at level 13, right, is where you have like Suwan, who we'll see in the next episode of the show, right? I believe, or the episode after that. We know she's in season 1, who's the Amerlin seat. And then you have Moraine. So this is like your peak Aes Sedai.
Right.
Your pinnacle prime Aes Sedai is at this level 13 power. Then we go up quite a bit of steps. So at level 8, so you think like 8 out of however many, I think it goes all the way down. It goes all the way to 72. So at 8 of 72, and then you have the males even above that, is where we get Egwene. So do you think in the showverse, as already, do you think that Moraine right now thinks Egwene has the potential or is already more powerful than her?
Yes. Yeah, then Moraine herself.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that's the whole thing. Lan keeps asking, "Do you know which one of them it is? Who is it?" And you're just starting to test that. They're just starting to kind of figure that out, getting her to use the power with the gemstone. So then later on, when she sees Logain, her eyes are wide. She's even more confused because now Leandrin is there, Karina, they're shielding him. They're saying, "Can you feel his power?" Alana is like, "This power is immense. Nothing like they had felt before." They're shocked by it. And she's felt Egwene. She's sensed Egwene. She's none of the other Aes Sedai know what she knows in terms of her power and finding these Taviran. So she actually is the one who can sort of compare, right? And goes in and feels Logain's power. It's not just about the power, but it kind of is. I mean, it kind of like whoever's the most powerful. We need someone super powerful to go face the Dark One, and it's somewhat of a tell. It's somewhat of an indicator. So yeah, she sees that he's super powerful. So I think that's why she hesitates, asks that question. He's far too old. This would not fit. This doesn't work. But yeah, so she goes in and kind of does her own little power, I think, analysis, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's interesting. I definitely think the way they're doing it right now is interesting, with the teasing of who potentially will be the dragon, and the way that's going to go. So ultimately, to sort of answer the question, do we think that Nynaeve will be the dragon? I guess I'm going to have to say no. I still do ultimately believe it will be Rand. But let's say again, and I'm assuming if you're watching at this point, you are a book reader, or perhaps you're a show reader. That's fine with a few things being spoiled. So we'll
Yeah.
continue on just a little bit here. So as I was saying, so Egwene is at what is considered level 8 out of, I think, 72. So quite a bit more powerful than Moraine, who's at 13. So then we go all the way up to 3, and that's where Nynaeve is. So even though
Crazy
Nynaeve
jump.
is even though Nynaeve, I don't think will end up being the dragon in the show, Nynaeve is absurdly powerful. I mean,
Right.
you saw in the episode that a little bit of the anger comes out. I always joke on the podcast that she's the Hulk, right? Her power
Mhm.
comes through her anger, is when she really sort of channels. I mean, Nynaeve is in the tier of the third most powerful female channelers that exist.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, man, it's huge. I mean, that's the thing. We've already seen her early on, even with her block, be able to defeat in the books Mo Gideon and things. So we know that she's extremely powerful. Full spoilers here. We know what she does later on with her healing abilities. We know what she does with Rand. Um, Different things that involve cleansing. A lot of cool stuff that Nynaeve will do, and she is just super powerful. She's someone that you could count on. Rand needed later, so it's such a big deal. There's also this cool connection for book readers between Logain and Nynaeve, right? That is what I think is just fantastic. That Nynaeve is there when, they're almost like you're comparing Egwene at first to Logain, and then this nobody shows up, this wisdom who has emotional connections and ties to Land. Land gets hurt. She hulks out, Super Saiyan, Spirit Bomb, the whole thing goes
Yeah.
nuts, right? So that's super cool. He now is sitting there going like, "Wow, she's super powerful." I think what folks are gonna look to is like, I thought Logain was more powerful, right? People are gonna say, is that not the case? And it seems like she was doing things that even he was like, "Whoa, I pale in comparison to that." Sort of is what it seemed like. We didn't really hear him say that, but it was the vibe you got.
Right.
Um,
But maybe the low gain that's going right now, um, hasn't really tapped into his full power.
yeah, for sure. That's what we are thinking too. And also when he, his arc goes on, and we'll see him kind of come back into important plot points later. So yeah, maybe he, his strength will grow, become more, and that will be interesting to see. But right now, it's just a testament to Nynaeve, big time testament to her. It's a show off. It's a major flex that she has these powers and she is more powerful than anybody in that room. That's the vibe I got. There was no one in that freaking room more
At that
powerful
moment in time.
at
Yeah.
that moment in time than she was. Even though she has the block, right? That's
Right.
the big deal. She's dealing with we'll find out later as a Wilder. She has a block and so on. So that's pretty cool. Now, uh, Moraine is that person who will be able to like we're trying to do here, power scale and say yes, she's had a stare down with Rand, but she mentioned in this like unless they're shielded, she really couldn't get a good sense of like his power necessarily, and she can with Egwene. So that's where Land was. That you brought up earlier. Land's asking that question: who's more powerful? Type of thing.